Hello everyone and welcome to my Bachelor Nation 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. I've changed my mind. The Golden Bachelorette's Mark Anderson would never make a good Golden Bachelor. His new relationship is proof. The Golden Bachelorette star Mark Anderson was someone I hoped to see as the next Golden Bachelor. But I've changed my mind as he wouldn't fit the role. Throughout the Golden Bachelorette Season 1, Mark and the cast were introduced as options for Joan Vassos to find love with after loss. Joan, who had lost her husband John Vassos to cancer just a few years prior, had been on the inaugural season of The Golden Bachelor, but was trying to find love on her own. Mark, the father of Bachelor winner Kelsey Anderson, joined the show to Bachelor Nation's excitement. While Mark had a taste of the franchise during his short appearance on The Bachelor Season 28, his life had been preparing him for the chance to meet someone like Joan for quite some time. After losing his own wife to cancer years prior, Mark had been operating as a single dad to 5 children of varying ages, but he'd been open to finding love if it appeared. When Bachelor Nation began rallying behind Mark to appear on The Golden Bachelorette, he was open to the opportunity, especially after seeing his own daughter find love on the long-running dating show. After meeting Mark on The Bachelor Season 28, Bachelor Nation was obsessed with finding him a love of his own. While Mark had only been featured in relation to his daughter, Kelsey, his time on screen was enough to endear him to Bachelor Nation immensely. I loved seeing Mark talk to Joey Graziati during the hometown episode of the series, as it was clear just how much he loved his children and was hopeful to see them find the great loves of their lives. Mark was a sweet, charming guy who'd gone through something difficult, and Bachelor Nation loved him. By the time it was announced that he'd be a part of the Golden Bachelorette Season 1 cast, Bachelor Nation had taken Mark under its wing entirely. Cheering him on as Kelsey's hot dad, viewers were thrilled to find Mark ready and available to find love on the inaugural season of the series, hoping he would click with Joan. It was clear that not only were viewers happy about seeing Mark have the chance on the show, Kelsey was too. It was exciting to know that he would have a chance on the Golden Bachelorette, even if it didn't work. Although it seemed like Joan and Mark had a ton in common from the jump on the Golden Bachelorette, the pair wasn't quick to find a connection outside of the surface things they had shared. While Joan and Mark had similar family structures and had lost their long-term partners in similar ways, it was tough for them to find any chemistry beyond that deep connection. The pair were always able to talk to each other and found it easy to make conversation, but they weren't finding a romantic connection throughout their time together on the Golden Bachelorette, which was surprising. Although Mark and Joan appeared to have a lot in common, the lack of spark started being a lot more noticeable as the competition continued on. By the time Mark and Joan called their relationship quits, it was clear that her connections with the other guys left in the season were a lot more serious. Regardless, Mark was able to find a deep connection with Joan as a friend, and made friends with a bunch of the rest of the guys in the Golden Bachelorette cast. Mark shared the time on the show was well worth the bit of heartbreak. Although after the Golden Bachelorette, there was a push from Bachelor Nation to see Mark as the lead of the next season of The Golden Bachelor, I'm not convinced he'd be a good lead. While I enjoy Mark and think he has a sweet personality, I don't think he'd be able to take charge of a situation where he was at the helm, choosing women to stay and go. I think a lot of the reasons that Joan found herself not clicking with Mark would actually make him a bad Golden Bachelor, though it'd be fun to see him try. Mark appears to be a more reserved individual in groups, shrinking to the back or staying quiet when he's not the only person in an interaction. While that's noble and suits him, it's not something that works well for a Bachelor lead. Instead, leads need to be outspoken and a bit more confident in themselves as they move through the process of the show. Mark would be too diplomatic to be a Golden Bachelor lead and would wind up hurting people more because he wouldn't be able to be direct with the women he was letting go on the show. It's time to admit it. I was wrong about Mark Anderson. When the charismatic widower first walked onto the set of The Golden Bachelorette, he seemed like the total package. With his charming smile, well-timed jokes, and that emotional story about finding love again after heartbreak. Mark was the dreamboat many of us thought Bachelor Nation desperately needed. There was even talk, whispered at first, then shouted from the rooftops, that Mark would make the perfect golden bachelor. But after recent revelations about his new relationship and a closer look at his behavior on and off the show, I've changed my mind. Mark Anderson is far from the ideal lead for a golden bachelor season. In fact, his latest antics suggest he might be more of a cautionary tale than a romantic hero. The Mark we thought we knew. Let's rewind to the beginning. Mark's introduction on The Golden Bachelorette was nothing short of iconic. He was presented as the seasoned, sensitive man looking for a second shot at love after years of focusing on his family and career. He captivated Joan Vassos, and most of us at home, with his poetic vulnerability, telling her during their first one-on-one, love isn't about starting over. It's about continuing the story you thought had ended. Cue the collective swoon. By mid-season, Mark's fan base had ballooned. Social media buzzed with hashtags like #Mark4GoldenBachelor and #GoldenMark. Fans loved his balance of lighthearted banter and deep emotional insight. Mark seemed to embody everything viewers wanted in a lead: maturity, authenticity, and a willingness to lay it all on the line for love. But somewhere along the way, cracks began to show. A contender for love or just the spotlight? Mark's connection with Joan seemed strong at first, but as the season progressed, he developed a reputation for playing it safe. While other contestants bared their souls, Mark often pivoted to vague platitudes and perfectly rehearsed anecdotes. Joan herself remarked in episode 7, "Sometimes I feel like Mark's talking to an audience instead of me." At the time, fans dismissed this as Joan overanalyzing. After all, wasn't Mark just being thoughtful? In hindsight, Joan's instincts may have been spot on. The final nail in the coffin was Mark's hometown date, a carefully curated event that felt less like an authentic peek into his life and more like a highlight reel designed to impress producers. Viewers were treated to a day of wine tasting and horseback riding, but Mark's interactions with his family felt distant. His adult children, while polite, didn't seem overly enthusiastic about their dad's quest for televised love. He's always been good at putting on a show, one of his daughters quipped in a confessional. At the time, this comment was brushed off as family teasing. But now? It feels like a warning we all ignored. The new relationship, a plot twist we didn't see coming. Fast forward to today, and Mark is making headlines for reasons that have nothing to do with roses or romance. Shortly after the Golden Bachelorette finale, Mark went public with a surprising new relationship. The lucky lady? A former contestant from The Bachelor. After Dark, a short-lived spin-off notorious for its wild antics and dramatic cast. Let's call her Lydia. While there's nothing inherently wrong with Mark dating someone outside the golden age bracket, the optics are, well, complicated. Lydia is not only significantly younger than Mark, but also the polar opposite of the grounded, family-oriented image he projected on The Golden Bachelorette. Known for her party girl persona and infamous champagne-tossing incident, Lydia represents everything Mark claimed to avoid when he joined the franchise. Fans were quick to point out the irony. How does a man who spent weeks waxing poetic about mature connections and shared life experiences end up dating someone whose favorite pastime is tequila-fueled TikTok dances? Even more troubling is the timeline. Rumors suggest that Mark and Lydia's relationship began before the Golden Bachelorette finale aired, raising questions about his sincerity on the show. The Golden Bachelor we deserve. Mark's new relationship isn't just a personal choice. It's a glaring red flag about his suitability as a potential Golden Bachelor. The lead of a Golden Bachelor season should embody the values of the franchise: sincerity, vulnerability, and a genuine desire to find lasting love. Mark, on the other hand, now appears more interested in clout than commitment. Some might argue that Mark's personal life shouldn't disqualify him from being the next lead. After all, aren't we all entitled to explore different facets of ourselves? But this isn't just about personal growth. It's about trust. As fans, we invested in Mark's narrative of rediscovery and resilience. His recent actions feel less like a continuation of that journey and more like a betrayal of the ideals he once claimed to represent.